Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana. And we're here today with special guest, Marianne Bohr, who's here to share with us her new book, The 20, One Woman's Trek Across Corsica on the GR20 Trail. So Marianne and her husband celebrated their 60th birthdays by hiking the 124-mile GR20 Trail, known as Europe's toughest long-distance footpath on the French island of Corsica. This journey turns into an emotional, enlightening, and romantic trek where they learn to come to terms with aging, surmount physical limitations, and how to be kind to themselves. So welcome to the show, Marianne Bohr.
Oh, thanks so much. I'm happy to be here.
What an honor it is to have you here and to talk about this book. So this trek across Corsica. Okay, so what even got this on your radar?
Well, my husband and I always try to mark big milestone birthdays with some kind of an adventure. And so we were turning 60, and a few years prior to that, we had been hiking in Switzerland, and we met a retired British Army general who said, if you love hiking and you're, good hikers, you must do the 20. And we, at that point, we said, the 20, what is the 20? And it's a hike that goes across Corsica, and it's part of a network of trails called the Grande Randonnée in French. And so it's the GR20, each of many, there's over 100 hikes that just have a number associated with them. It doesn't have to do with the difficulty. It's just the number given to it. So he he piqued our interest, and we looked into it, and we said, that's perfect for our 60th birthdays. So that's how we did it. I'm also a Francophile, and anything that's French, I pretty much, go after and enjoy. And so again, we looked into it. Corsica is an island which is part of France, and that was it. We made our plans.
How exciting is that? And to do it for a milestone, what a great idea. Now, is this something that it took a long time for you to really plan, or you guys are pretty fit individuals and you thought, hey, we can handle these kind of hikes, and we're going to go for it?
We did some special training. I mean, we did training probably for about 9 months, I'd say, with this in mind. We are avid hikers, but this was going to be the most difficult hike we'd ever done. So we definitely had to train for it, both stateside, and then before the hike, we went to Europe for about a month, just training. We started in Iceland, and then we did some other hikes down in the south of France that would be similar terrain to Corsica. So yeah, we had to prepare.
So how long was the entire hike that you guys did, the through hike?
Well, the whole hike was 124 miles. And each day you pretty much would start, in a valley or a gale or whatever. And then the goal for the day would be to go up and over, a peak or a pass or a saddle, and then go back down and to a lower elevation. And so that's, we did 13 days of that. So it took us just about 2 weeks.
Oh my goodness, that sounds so exciting. And I've seen pictures of just that trail that you guys were hiking on. It is gorgeous scenery. Is it one of the better places that you've hiked, or the most beautiful places you hiked at?
I have to say some of the most beautiful were in the Alps, when we hiked in the Alps. Corsica is a different kind of beauty. It's really rocky, and it's quite austere in places. And so it's different, but from so many places where you are, if you're way up high, you can look out and see the Mediterranean Sea. And so that's absolutely gorgeous. the flora and the fauna. We had lots of there are a lot of wild pigs on Corsica, so we saw a lot of those. And there's a lot of just free grazing of farm animals. So, we ran into a lot of sheep and pigs and cows and horses. So yes, it's a different kind of beauty. It's I guess I'd say it's austere, and beautiful at the same time.
Can you explain to us what the first day was like that you guys set out on this trip?
The first day was the toughest day, absolutely the toughest on the hike. And I had my doubts at the end of that. I just thought, how am I going to do this for 12 more days? Because I thought I could sleep for about 18 hours. So it was a good introduction to the whole hike, because there was lots of elevation gain, and then again, lots of hiking down. It was also, we had read that your motor is going to be more in your head than in your legs. So it meaning that you just had to say to yourself, tell yourself, I'm going to do this. I can do this. And yes, your legs are just killing you and me, my lungs, but you just have to, persevere. So it was like I said, we went up lots of rocky terrain, lots of scree up, the sides of a mountain, and it just let us know what we were in for. And I was kind of amazed when we finally finished that first day and got to the place where there was a refuge that, had some food and where we camped. So it was kind of a mental adjustment on that first day, realizing what we gotten ourselves into.
I can only imagine it. Would you say that it's a difficult trail?
Oh, definitely. Absolutely. It's known among hikers as Europe's toughest footpath. Now I should say though that what it means is there are lots of other hikes that you can do that are tougher, but you need equipment. You need axes or crampons or you ropes to get up those others. But this is the toughest one, where you're basically walking with your trekking poles. So yeah, and it's tough because it's so long. It's 2 weeks, and there's very little. There are very few places where where there are springs where you can get water. So you always have to be prepared with, we had filters. So we filtered our water from whatever, even streams and springs that we came upon. So it's just really tricky making sure you have enough water.
And that can be so heavy carrying water around with you. I can
That's
imagine.
exactly right.
Oh my goodness, that must have been tiring.
It was exhausting. It was absolutely exhausting. And we probably took about 3 liters of water with us. If it was on a day where we knew we weren't going to come to a spring, and a liter of water weighs about 2.2 pounds. So at the beginning of the day, we would be carrying 6 extra pounds. We would drink all the water, absolutely, by the end of the day. So by the end of the day, our packs were 6 pounds lighter.
That just sounds so incredible. Now, you talked about breathing. So is altitude a thing that people need to be aware of with this trail?
They do definitely need to be aware. I mean, the highest altitude is about 7,500 feet, but we live in Park City, Utah, so we live at about 7,000 feet here. So I guess our lungs were used to it. But if you live at sea level or not a very high altitude, you absolutely have to worry about the height and the altitude, and breathing's a little harder. Yeah.
Having that adjustment on your lungs, my goodness.
Yes.
It could be pretty tough. Well,
Yes.
I often hear of people saying when they go on hikes, that there's that physical part of it that is so stressing and taxing. But there's also this spiritual or emotional part that tends to wake up inside them that they sometimes don't expect.
When you're in this landscape, often just by yourself, you just feel so small. You feel so small and insignificant. And I guess that is a spiritual feeling that, how important am I? How many years have people been walking across these same stones? Thousands of years. And so, yeah, there absolutely is a spiritual part. I mean, you just get away from all the electronics and all the busyness and, whether it's work, regular life, whatever nothing's interfering really, except nature kind of doing your best to get through the natural landscape. And so, yes, it is. There are lots of times when you're just inside your head thinking about your life, your choices, what's most important to you. Definitely.
So how was it when you were in this place of you're hiking, you're doing a trail that's very strenuous, and a lot of times you hear of people having difficulties with their shoes. Did you guys have any of that?
We didn't, because I wore a pair of Garmont hiking boots that I had for about 5 years. And I can't even imagine how many miles were on them. But I went in about a year before the hike and to possibly get a new pair of boots. But the guy at REI said, these boots look great. There are no tears. There's, nothing's coming apart. The laces are great. So I wore hiking boots that I was so comfortable in. And I will say I did a number on them, through the hike. I mean, by the end of the hike, yes, seams were coming apart and soles were coming off. So at the very end, I took them off, kissed them goodbye, and, put them in a trash can. But they got me through the hike. I had no bruises, no blisters on my feet. I had bruises and blisters elsewhere, but not on my feet. And my husband, the same. His shoes were probably 3 years old, so he'd really worn them in. The worst thing you can do is get a brand new pair that you haven't worn for at least a year and attempt to hike like that. So he did have a few blisters, but nothing serious at all. We had plenty of moleskin that you could put on blisters, and also a great thing to put on blisters because it won't come off is duct tape. You just duct tape any hot spots or blisters, and that works really well. I definitely had bruises and scrapes, and I cut my leg at one point, not horribly, but scraped it, and but nothing. So I had those bruises and all, like from the pack, rubbing a bit on my hips, but not with my feet, thank goodness.
Well, on that note, we're going to pause here for a quick break. We've been speaking with Marianne Bohr in regards to her new book, The 20, One Woman's Trek Across Corsica on the GR20 Trail. We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors.
Every day, pets are surrendered and abandoned. For these helpless and hurting animals, Paws Humane Society acts as a voice for the voiceless, providing hope for a brighter future. You can make a difference in the life of a shelter pet. Become a humane hero today. Just $10 a month will provide much-needed food, shelter, medical care, and love. It takes a community. It takes heroes like you. Together we can. Together we will. Together we are Paws Humane. Visit pawshumane.org to be a hero in every animal story.
Are you an actor, public speaker, or an executive telling your story over Zoom? Jean-Louis Rodrigue and Scott Weintraub's new book, Back to the Body, takes the process they use to coach top Hollywood talent like Margot Robbie, Jack Black, and Ke Huy Quan and makes it available to everyone. Using your body and its energy as a point of departure, your work will gain an enhanced level of performance and depth. Back to the Body, available on Amazon and wherever books are sold.
Dr. Richard London, who has 25 years of experience being known as the Man of Steel with the Heart of Velvet, presents the Life Wellness System, The Road to Yes, a mentoring system that brings you to becoming a wellness heir. Imagine having wealth, wellness, love, peace, and spirituality in abundance and balance now. Visit doctorateoflife.com or call 720-213-8021 for a free 15-minute wellness evaluation.
I'd like to thank Jason Eastwood at Guitarfulness for sharing his inspiring music and talent with us. His music is known worldwide for cultivating atmospheres of harmony, inner peace, and clarity. Visit Jason's website at guitarfulness.com. Join his newsletter, be part of his community, and download his music. Welcome back to Moments with Marianne. We're here today with special guest, Marianne Bohr, who's sharing with us her new book, The 20, One Woman's Trek Across Corsica on the GR20 Trail. Before we left for break, we were talking about your boots and how those were for you on this hike. I think the biggest concern hikers have is getting blisters on their feet, because that could really end a trip.
Exactly. Yeah, there were a few people, one in particular we were hiking with, and oh my goodness, his feet were a mess. He had a real hard time, and he about halfway through he said, "I'm done. Can't do this anymore. My feet are a mess. It's not fun anymore." So he did stop, and didn't. It took at one point about halfway through on the trail. There's a small little village. It's barely even a hamlet that you come to, but there is a train, like a tourist train that comes up there for people who want to get into the mountains but don't want to hike. And he just took that train back to Bastia, which was the town we started from.
Well, thank goodness that's there. So it's
Yes.
an option, because that's a huge hike.
It is. It absolutely is. And, sometimes if people get badly injured, the only way to get out is a helicopter. You have to call a helicopter or get your guide. A guide will call the helicopter, and they come in. And we saw several helicopters while we were hiking. And and it can be quite dangerous, just because when you're descending, especially on all the rock, if you take the wrong step, you could slip and fall quite a bit and get pretty banged up. So that does happen every year.
I can imagine with a hike like that.
Yeah.
What did you learn about yourself during this hike?
I think the first thing I'd say is probably perseverance. I'm a pretty determined person. Like to accomplish things, and be they physical or mental or emotional or whatever. And so it was perseverance that I learned that I really could push through the exhaustion and the pain and get it done. I guess the other thing was that it's important. It was important to talk to people as you went along, other hikers that you met, and how were they doing, and sharing stories, and it got your mind off of the physical task. So, but the biggest thing I think was perseverance. Like I did it. I was able to do it. So
that's so encouraging. Do you think other people that are baby boomers, or Generation X, any generation, it kind of encourages them that this is something that they can do?
Yes, absolutely. Anybody who is a good hiker, hikes regularly. And like I said, it's got to be in your head. You have to want to do it, and you have to say, I can do it. I mean, I wouldn't encourage novice hikers to attempt this. Although, you could do part of the trail and then loop back and just go back down to where you started. So you could do pieces of it. But I would say, we met, we were 60 when we did it, but we met not many, but I'd say a good handful of hikers who were over 70 who did it. And I'd say the majority of people who were on the trail were more like in their 20s and 30s, and probably more men than women, maybe 2/3 men, 1/3 women. But yes, if you want to do it, it's you've got to train for it. But yeah, you can definitely do it. And it is an adventure, because Corsica it's just a pretty unique island, because it's French. It's a French island, but the Corsican people, there were so many conquerors over the years of Corsica. Genoa and there was Genoa, and there were the French, there were the Italians, there were the Turkish, and just all those countries around it conquered it at one point, because it was right on the shipping lanes in the Mediterranean. So there's people there have backgrounds from many, many countries, but there is now a Corsican language, which it kind of sounds like Italian in terms of its lilt and cadence and all, but it isn't Italian. And I speak French, but I couldn't understand any of it. So there's a little French thrown in. But Corsicans are a fiercely independent people, and they'll only admit that Corsica is part of France if you really push them. All they want to say is that we're Corsican. And so yeah, it's an interesting place to meet the Corsicans and learn about their history, because it is so unique.
It sounds like it is. It sounds like a melting pot of many different cultures that have come together.
It is. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. Yeah.
I understand that trips like this can really make or break a relationship. So how was it on your marriage?
There were a couple of times when I would get frustrated with my husband because he would, go quite a bit ahead. But then I also came to realize that I don't like to be coddled or babied. And so if he had always been hanging back with me, that would have gotten me upset. Like, don't treat me like I'm a baby. So it was really, for me, I had to come around to that understanding that what he was doing, he would wait for me, of course, periodically, but not coddling me, I guess, and not every 100 yards waiting for me. I would have gotten upset with that. So our marriage was just fine. We've been married. Well, now we've been married 42 years. So we've learned a lot about each other and how we need to interact over those years. So it was good, and completing the hike together, it's just a great thing for a relationship to have accomplished something that big together. So yeah, it was even stronger at the end than it was at the beginning.
What an amazing thing to have as a couple, that memory to go back to of that trip.
Right. Well, and that's what we've always tried to do on our various milestone birthdays, is try to do something like that so we can remember it and, know where we were, know what we did. sometimes people even forget how old they are, and then they'll say, wait, now what are we? Oh, okay, we're this old because we had done 4 years ago, we'd done this or that adventure. So
I like that. I'm going to start using that myself. So,
and it doesn't have to be hiking 124 miles. It can be going to a place you've always wanted to go, and just planning, saving, making it happen. So there's something really special about checking things off on your bucket list, or going places you've always wanted to.
yeah, that's so exciting. Oh my goodness. Well, and was there anything that later on you're like, oh gosh, I wish I would have brought X, whatever that thing is?
Hmm. The one thing I can say is I'm kind of a salt addict. I have low blood pressure, so I don't have to worry about having too much salt. I wish I had brought some salt with me for some of the meals that we had. But about a third of the way through the hike, the place that with the refuge where we got our meal, they sold little bits of things, and my husband surprised me and he bought me a little plastic salt shaker, and I was so thrilled with that gift of his. So I wish I'd brought one with me, but he bought it for me. But no, we had prepared really well, and we'd listen to so many blogs, we'd watch so many videos, we read so many books about what to bring and what not to bring. So I think we were pretty well prepared with everything that we had. And Corsica, when we did it in August, is really hot at the middle of the day, and the not humid at all, very dry. So it was super easy to, wash your clothes. And so we were never at a point where, oh, geez, I wish I had another pair of shorts or whatever. Because we just really had 2 sets of clothes for hiking. Then we each had one really casual something to wear in the evenings after we'd managed to shower or wash up. So no, we were very well prepared, I'm happy to say.
That sounds pretty impressive. You guys must have quite a list of items that you take when you go hiking.
We do on a long hike like that. Yes, although I would say yes, we do have a good checklist that we go through, and we also now we're big campers, so we will do camping these days, and yeah, you have to go through that checklist. Make sure not that we go camping for 2 weeks, but even for 3 or 4 days, certainly we need our good list.
So do you have another adventure planned?
We do, actually. We were hoping to do it when we were 65, but of course there was COVID. So next year we'll be 68, and we're going to do the coast to coast hike across northern England. So we're going to take almost 3 weeks. It's 200 miles, and we start over on the west side, which is just west of the English Lake District, and we start on the Irish Sea in a town called St. Bees, and then we finish on Robin Hood's Bay on the North Sea. And along the way, we've booked a B&B or an inn, like above a pub. So we're doing that for 3 weeks, and it's each day, depending on the difficulty of the terrain, we'll do anywhere from 9 to 15 miles, and we're taking our dog with us, so we're very excited about that, to take her.
Your dog with you?
Yes, she's a great hiker. So looking forward to that.
I bet she is too.
Yes, definitely. So the 3 of us will share that accomplishment. Fingers crossed we make the 200 miles, but I'm sure we will. It's a lot less difficult. It's longer, but it's a lot less difficult than than the 20 on Corsica.
Oh my goodness. And it sounds like it's just such a great way to see different parts of that area. And you can decide, oh, I like this part better. I want to stay more days here on another trip.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And there's just nothing like hiking, walking places to really get to know them and feel them. I mean, it's really a feeling, that you get in being in the outdoors. And also, so we're going to do that for most of the month of June next year.
What an exciting trip. Well, Marianne, what do you want people to take away from the 20?
One of the reasons I wrote the book was that many people, I could not believe how many people didn't even know what Corsica was or where Corsica was. So I'd love them to now be aware of Corsica, that it's part of France, that it's a beautiful island. And even if you're not going to hike the 20, there is so much gorgeous hiking, to do. So that's one thing. The other thing is that, age, you don't have to end adventure because of your age. I think it sort of brings out the child in you, the younger person in you when you do these adventures. And, adventure is good for us all. So, I mean, those are the two main things. Adventure doesn't end with age, and, consider a trip to Corsica.
It sounds like such an adventure. And I can't wait to hear about your next adventures. Marianne, where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community and learn about your books?
Well, I have a website. It's www.mariannebohr, no middle initial, just mariannebohr.com. So there's a lot about that. And my other book, which was Gap Year Girl, my husband and I, when we were 55, we took a gap year. We quit our jobs, sold our house, and pretty much sold everything. So those two books are highlighted on my website, and you can also buy them wherever books are sold. But I have a lot of essays that I've written as well, most of them about travel, on my website.
Well, Marianne, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
And Marianne, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you, Marianne. It's been such an honor to spend this time with you. The 20 is available to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all indie retailers. And remember, support our indie bookstores. If you don't see it on the shelf, just ask for them to order it. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary. A recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.